Okay, that's everybody kicked from the clan chat. No reason, just for the hell of it. So, Harrow, available once you have completed the Chains of Harrow quest. Should look like this. Actually, a fairly decent looking frame. The more I've had him equipped over the past, Barrow arriving and lots of other stuff, the more I've kind of grown used to him, and I was expecting him to be a bit weird. The only real problem that I've come up with appearances is I cannot fit orange. You'll notice the Sandana, which is his Knave Sandana there, has orange on it, and the rest of it I couldn't because I've had to put white on twice because his metal parts at the back, if I swap over, they don't look that bad in his original colour. They look better in his original colour, actually. But as soon as you change them, the metallic, they are very, very reflective, which can be a bit of a pain. But for a frame that basically comes with a D and a dash aura, or if this is polarised, that would be better. But nope, that's not polarised. That's a bit of a shame. Not a bad setup, considering his abilities are kind of weird. His first ability, Condemn, does exactly what it says. It casts a wave of energy that chains enemies together where they stand. Each enemy held in it, however, it basically has shield steal. It will steal the shields from enemies to reinforce Harrow's shields. This is actually pretty good. The amount of shields you gain back, or gain from this, depends on the power strength of, obviously, your build, which we'll get onto in a bit. So it's actually pretty useful, and it does seem to suck shields from any enemy. That enemy doesn't have to have shields, which is a very good thing. If the enemy had to have shields for that to work, his first ability would just not work. His second ability is where his passive of the double overshield capacity comes into play, because what he basically does is he will sacrifice his shields to 0, all shields, including his overshields. It will go to 0, but it will give a buff to fire rate and reload, so you can shoot faster and reload much quicker. For long reloading weapons, this works really, really well. It also has the ability to heal Harrow and allies nearby. Of course, the big problem with this is to actually deal that damage, Harrow has to be the one to actually deal the damage. This is one thing I didn't know when actually using him. I thought I could just cast the ability, run around, and it would work. Nope, you have to be the one dealing the damage to get the health for nearby allies, and of course for yourself. The power range of Penance is not affected by the power range mods, which is kind of weird, and it's also recastable. You can cast it once it's active to have a stack effect for the duration, but the maximum duration time is 60 seconds, so that's a pretty useful ability actually. His third ability, being Thurible, is kind of energy regen. You sacrifice energy by waving the Thurible around, and you will get energy back depending on how much you put into it by the thing that tends to be on the screen. Getting headshots will give you 4 times that number though, but it's a good ability. Its range is affected by power range, and its duration is affected by power duration, which is actually really useful. Its energy conversion percentage is affected by power strength and power efficiency. That's how efficiently you can put power into it, which makes actually feeding power into it and getting that number higher kind of really weird. This is all dependent on Harrow getting the kill though. If the allies are within the range, they will also get power, but if they are in range and they get the kill, there is no power given. Harrow has to get the kill for the power to be given back to anybody in range and Harrow himself. So it's a tricky one to use, but worth it if you're on a small map or defending something. And lastly is his fourth ability. I know I'm going to get wrong for the way I'm saying this because it's not the way it's supposedly pronounced, but Covenant will basically do roughly what it sounds. It protects nearby allies with an energy force that absorbs all damage, all incoming damage, and I'm not going to bother reading the rest of it because it gets kind of weird. The basics of this, it will make you and your squad immune to damage for going from its base stats, it's actually 6 seconds. Any damage you get during that 6 seconds, it kind of absorbs, so for that 6 seconds you are invincible. Cannot be killed, immortal, immune to pretty much everything, because the damage is being transferred into the crit multiplier for this thing. The crit damage buff is kind of huge, but it maxes at 50% for body shots, and it maxes at 200 for headshots, because this has the same headshot multiplier that Thurible has, which is 4. So it takes the 50%, which is the max, and turns it into 200 for headshots. This guy is very heavy on getting those headshots for his abilities to work, which is why I think he came with that pistol. I ran him with primed vigor the whole time, as well as primed continuity, primed flow. I threw in cunning drift and stretch to overcome narrow-minded's minus ability range. I have streamline in here to increase the efficiency. I went for not a max, almost max transient fortitude to add some power strength but lower the amount of duration that comes off, because duration is kind of important on every ability, as is power strength, which is why I have transient fortitude and power drift here. Now, the reason that narrow-minded is half-leveled versus throwing this kind of build on, which, well, is more based towards power strength, is power strength and duration are both important, and I just took him down the road of duration over the road of strength. I only did this because power range only affects... I keep forgetting the name of his first ability. Condemn and Thurible are the only 2 abilities affected by range. The other abilities are all affected by strength and duration. Being more of a support frame, I just personally opted for the side of going for 196% duration instead of 191% power strength. This is why I've always said it's good to have half-leveled mods over maxed ones, just kind of leveling the build out. Of course, it all depends on what you do, and as you could see, I have both of them, but I'm just unwilling to put another V polarity on him at the moment to be able to fit that primed continuity that was on my B build, and then adding health and all the rest of it to that build. So I do have both of them. It depends what you do, if you want to run duration or strength. He really is a pain to set up, because he's another one of those frames that kind of needs a bit of everything. And to be fair, with his parts dropping, as you could have seen, I think it happened earlier in the video, his chassis drops from Fisher corrupted enemies at a 3% rare drop. It actually drops very often. That is probably the easiest part to get. And with his systems coming from basically what looks like, was it Dark Sector missions that these little things are? They're just kind of left over because they don't really serve a purpose. But what got me is it's empty. Nobody's actually playing it, and that's where you need to go to get a hold of his systems. But it seems the other place is a little bit more popular, which is Phobos, and you can also get the systems from there, but that is a 7.52% chance. The Neptune one is an 11% chance. It was weird to actually see them playing on that one. With his neuroptics? I keep going to say helmet, I'm still not used to that. With Harrow's neuroptics coming from Pago on the Kuva fortress, with an 11.28% chance of dropping there. But after using him for a few days, I have found mixing his abilities together works really well, and have actually enjoyed using him. Octavia was a bit grindy when I got to a third former. By the time I put the third former into this guy, I was still learning how the abilities work differently together, and that big one of he has to deal the damage and get the kills to restore health and power. That is something that should be basically in his title. He's a support frame that needs to get the kills, otherwise his support abilities don't work as well. If that was there, it wouldn't really make sense, but that is the most important thing to remember about him. If he doesn't get the kills, he doesn't restore health or shields. Anyway, I'll leave this off here for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.